We are going to roll.
To the Black Independent, where we speak truth to power, unapologetically.
For too long, the black vote has been treated like a given, but we're not property. We're not pawns. We are the descendants of those who built this nation. And now, we're demanding tangibles, not tokenism, because the era of blind loyalty is over. This is the Black Independent. Let's get to work.
All right, y'all. So now let's get into it. And thank you for your patience because it's our first live, as I mentioned before. And we are so happy to have our first guest, Kella McKaskill. Kella, thanks for being here.
Thank you for inviting me.
So we'd like to have you start by telling us about the recent report on Fair Oaks contract. What is it and why is it concerning for East Tampa residents?
Well, I wanted to start off with saying congratulations to the lovely, talented, the amazing, the one and only Jeannette Bradley for your major accomplishment over this weekend, over this week. It's amazing, and we're happy for where you're headed next. I can't wait to see what God does next in your life and in your community.
Thank you. I appreciate that. But I will say this, last 5 years, I couldn't do it without all of my friends and all of the folks that I work with at Seed Folk Kids. The purpose was that we find the right avenue for advocating for kids, particularly in East Tampa schools. So thank you. I appreciate that.
Thank you. Yes. So thank you for having me come on to talk about, like you said, this just recently was shared, the information at Fair Oaks. So I want to kind of go back to talk about Fair Oaks a little bit. As many of you know, the park itself, there was so much going back and forth with the park. Like it was, don't stop the project, start the project, don't stop the project. And so what happened was when it got down to their selecting a contractor, they chose Skanska. And Skanska promised 70% of minority spend, like they were going to do 70%, but they really meant in the first phase of the project. So as time went on, they really played numbers games, and they only ended up with about 14% is what was agreed upon. 14.
Well, let me stop you there, Kella. So they did what they always do, a bait and switch, and we fell for it once again. Because 70% would have been saying, how in the world could they even commit to 70% of the, you're trying to say 70% was supposed to be minority owned?
Well, the language, there was some wordplay in phase one. So in phase one is architectural design, community engagement, maybe $1 million worth of stuff.
How long ago was that?
That was in 2023 when the budget came out. So It started in 2023, just before they did the building is when they came up with these numbers. But what happened was they meant 70% in phase one.
Okay.
So there's more phases.
Yeah. So just for the audience, we are talking about that big, beautiful building on 34th and Osborne, between Osborne and Martin Luther King.
Osborne and Hillsborough.
That's right. And that is quite impressive, but you're saying there's some issues from a contractual standpoint.
Well, I just want our community to want better for itself, right? So when these people came around, Council Member Carlson and Councilwoman Hertag was saying, are you sure you guys just want 14%? That seems rather low. That's rather low when it could be 25 or more.
Okay.
14% was what they settled for. Those were the crumbs. And I got those numbers, the final numbers on Friday. And so when I look at the report, they didn't even hit the 14%, really, truth be told. It's more like 12. And I know that they could have done a better job at getting higher than 14%. But what happens is the community allowed people that don't live in this district to yell the loudest and to make the other council members feel this is what the community wanted. I don't expect other people And I love those council members, but they don't feel our pain. They don't see the struggle. Our businesses need more. The people in East Tampa deserve more. But because people that don't live in this area screamed the loudest when it came up again, like they really pressed the issue. Do you really want 14%? Are you sure you don't want more? And unfortunately, we had a representative in that D5 seat that they don't know either. So we had no representation. We had a lack of knowledge. And the people that screaming the loudest, none of them own a business that's successful. None of them know anything about economics. None of them should have been able to make a decision for the people in that community when they had already heard they wanted more percentage and diversity spent. You had already heard from the community. Those 2, 3, 4 people do not represent the entire district. And so we, as a result, we took a loss. We lost about 11%. We could have had 11 more percent. We could have had 11% more.
So let me say this. So here's what I'm hearing you say. That we're still in 2025 being matured voters now. I can see this happening maybe in the 70s, 80s, the 90s, but not in 20, not now. That those people were saying, shut up, be thankful that they throwing you not even a goddamn bone, but some crumbs. Mm-hmm. That is what I'm hearing here. When someone is telling you that you got a $40 million contract, that you got like people who, and when you say that the other councilmen fill our pain, I would have to debate you on that, because they freaking know that they should have pushed back, because they should have said that Gwen Henderson did not understand the concept of what was going on. They should have stood up. And not even, is Lynn at large? Lynn's at large.
They fought.
Yeah, she is.
They tussled. Those people tussled.
Lynn is at large. Alan is at large. And McKaskill. Those 3 people we should hold accountable as well. Those 3 people who have failed the community as well. We can't put it on District 5 seat alone. Moving forward, because we help push those people in. They can't get that seat without our vote either. Okay? We have to now start holding them, because if she's afraid, probably she didn't want any pushback from District 5. It could have been that. Why Lynn probably didn't say anything. But how about if she get pushback from this whole community who she failed? And that's the bottom line.
Is that now you have 2, one $5 million project that was just approved and a $9 million one behind it. And I sent them several emails saying, do not, because you don't represent us necessarily. Mm-hmm. We don't have a body in that seat today. Do not approve another contract out of this district and not demand 25%. I emailed it 3-4 times and I verbally told them that, and it wasn't there. So I am going to share that I'm disappointed that I'm not wasting my time. It's coming down here. It's real stuff that needs to happen. If you really want to see us move the needle, you really want to see us get out of poverty, give us our 25% towards these contracts. Right. Contracts help makes the difference, not just doing small day-to-day business like a mom and pop shop. You guys are benefiting. Those people, just look at it. I'm not a racist, but those white people came in that neighborhood out of 40 million. Let me show you. Out of $40 million, we only received $4 million. Those people who wouldn't buy bubble gum in that community at one time was able to come in and take your money like that. That doesn't sit well with me.
So you're saying even though we got this big beautiful building, we did not, the devil's in the detail, and we did not properly take care of all of the issues for the community. We were not good stewards. And we got this beautiful building. We got this beautiful building, but sometimes that's what happens to us. I'm sorry, it must be my Facebook. Sometimes that happens to us. I'm gonna get out of it. Sometimes that happens to us, and they throw us a shiny object, and then they kind of move in a way that they know we're not going to pay attention to the fact that there's so much more we're leaving on the table. And sometimes they allow us to be represented, and we allow ourselves to be represented by people who are not going to pay attention to the detail and understand the history of Black people not truly getting what they are due. And in this big, beautiful building, and I'm going to call it that because I pass by it every morning, every other morning when I go out and work out in East Tampa, and I come back, I come straight down 34th, and I'm like, wow, impressive. Now we're going to be so enamored with this building that we're not going to pay attention to what we left on the table. And that will likely be for the future projects as well. So we have to be better at ensuring that whoever sits in that seat going forward, they understand what happened in this project and that it's not repeated, and that they are communicating very well with not just the other council members, but with the constituents as well.
You know, what was interesting is that in October 22, when it came up, Councilmember Gould said, no, we want 25%. In fact, every time something came forward, he wanted 25%, but that's why they wanted him out of there. Right. Because he was that fourth, that he would lead that seat as far as what's best for that community, because you would expect for him to know his district better than anybody up there on the dais. So he could lead them because he was very involved in the community and what was best. So at one time he was almost trying to make it go back because it didn't have the 25%. Well, that was October 2022. You know, an election happened in there somewhere around March, April, and then he was removed from the seat. Now you get somebody in there that may owe a debt, that's not really paying attention, that's not an econ major. They were not involved in politics. They were not involved in the community. They were not a business owner. We were doomed. The wrong.
And the fact of the matter is, look, as we studying and following this more and more, the person who sits in that seat have to be able to understand policies. Yes. They have to be able to read it. Or they have to be able to explain that one or the other. But when you have someone who do not understand, who really, now we don't know it to be true, but we believe that Councilwoman was handpicked by the mayor or whoever.
We'll go back. We
go back to all of the King parade, all of the hate emails she was sending out. So you would have to say that came from her side, the power to be.
Mm-hmm. I mean, look at how it happened. Martin Luther King parade, click, picture. Mm-hmm. After that, days later, you filed to run in D5. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Where did you get the money from? Nobody knows you. Where did you get the money from?
No interest in politics.
Okay, so I got a question. Now that report is out, you see what the numbers are. You see how we left things on the table. What do you suggest?
Well, one, in the future, we need to make sure that we email every council member to tell them it is unacceptable to ever again in your term up there to allow any money to be spent without a mandatory diversity spend. Woman-owned, disadvantaged small business. That's number one. Number two is to make sure you're smart about who you put in that seat. When that was happening, I want you to know, October 2022, the person that, first of all, wait, I want to back up. You two had me come some years ago to do a political forum. Remember that?
Yes.
You couldn't get the forum done. Well, that was outside of what I can get you a building and put some stuff together. But what's involved in the process of that? So at the time, I was having my nonprofit to be drafted. And the woman that was helping me draft the nonprofit was big on politics. Well, that put me to sleep. So I just said, hey, my friends are asking me to come do a forum. Can you help me put this together? And sure enough, they put the details together and I was able to find the building. Well, that same woman was at the table, stayed at the table, And in October 2022, it wasn't the NAACP sitting up there trying to make sure you got 25%. When to me, that's no pun intended. I like Yvette, but that's what you should have been doing. There was no Democratic nothing. There was no strong black. James Ransom, Allison Hewitt, Kella McKaskill said it over and over.
Connie Burton.
Connie Burton, over and over again.
Okay.
We wanted more, and then before Councilman Goose got put out. So what I'm about to say is Allison was from back then, brought her in, and she never left. She was always working in our community. She fought so hard for showing them the importance of not just looking at the phase one. Read the details. They're showing you, they're gaslighting you. They're only wanting you to look at phase one. But the rest of the phases had no participation from a minority, which is how we ended up there. So the other thing to do too is vote smart. Allison has been serving this community, raising these budgets, bringing it to our attention, policy, just writing, implementing programs and processes. We need somebody that is in it and they understand the assignment, that they work for the betterment of the people. You work for the people. She don't owe nobody.
Bottom line.
In those seats, she don't owe nobody. She's not, nobody paid her way to get there. Nobody gave her anything. She was there being a soldier, being a servant in that community. And we have to be smart about it because we've lost too much money already. There's going to be more projects that come along. But the other part is a developer coming to develop in this area, you shouldn't have to make them know that they need to do a 25% diversity spend. They ought to be trained from coming to our neighborhoods when they want to get your blessings and they want you to say yes on the project. That's when you mandate sidewalks and 25% and whatever else you want. Don't wait for this council to do it. It should be presented so you don't have to beg for it. But city council members needs to be aware that that was unacceptable. 2, we need to demand 25% going forward. And 3, we need to vote for Allison Hewitt.
All right, you got all of that in beautifully, and so I'm just saying, wow, that's a lot. So Kella, you raised some really powerful points. Accountability is key in this position, and for any position that we actually vote for, to be smart voters. Equity is also important. I'm hearing here that we're not getting an equitable distribution of the resources, and we need somebody in that seat who can ensure that we are. These seats really matter.
These seats matter. And you want to hear something else? Allison wrote, okay, so I wanted to work with the blighted parcels. I saw these people and these parcels are blighted. How can we best help these individuals? I want to go to them and I want to go to the city and say, we need to be working with these people. As a result of me sharing that, Allison said, well, you know, there's a CRP that governs what happens in East Tampa.
So she knows what's going on.
Well, you know, you
the problem. She can connect you. She can connect the dots, and I think that's really important. Right. Well, wow, that's really great. So thank you, Kella.